and things that they've gone through, and as well as sharing any valuable feedback for potential people in the crowd, right, that want to get into those professions and or those industries. Next year, I'll just kind of give the mic to each individual to speak about themselves, who they are, a little bit about their background, and then I'll hand it back to myself, and from there we'll ask a few questions, and then we'll open it up to the crowd.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Noel Amoga. It's a pleasure for me to be here. Thank you, Lual Deng. Thank you to the foundation, and thank you for this platform. So I am a physician. I specialize in anesthesiology. I have been living and working in San Antonio for the past 10 years. I knew I wanted to be a doctor since I was 8 years old. My mother is a nurse, and I really like to hear the stories she would tell my father, and each time I would go with her to the clinic, it also helped to maintain my interest. I had some contact with doctors when I was young. I dislocated both elbows, and when I was getting the casting in one of those situations, that's when I decided I wanted to be a doctor. So I was blessed with with well-educated parents. They saw my intelligence, and when I mentioned my interest in medicine, they made sure that I always was motivated and that I always worked hard. It was easy for me to get good grades early on in primary school. And as we go along in life, they were always there to support me. So when we moved to Khartoum, because of the civil war, my parents placed me in Unity High School, which was one of the most academic, high standard school in Sudan. Now, I wasn't always focused on my studies, but my father would always separate me when we come home from school. It's like, go to your room and study, and leave the door open. When we'll have parent-teachers conferences, my father would go to those conferences, and then if I wasn't performing very well, he would be disappointed. At one of those conferences, for instance, he said, some of the other parents are really happy. Their students did this, they got this award, but I couldn't say anything about you because you didn't do so well. So I was really disappointed that I had let him down at that time. Now, when I finished high school, a colleague of my father helped me with a full scholarship to the College of New Rochelle in New York. When I first arrived and I met the student counselor, I told her that my goal is to be a doctor. I said, I'm here to study medicine. So she told me, well, in the United States, first, students have to go to do 4 years of college, after which they will do an exam, and then they can go to medical school. Well, I was not to be deterred. It just seemed like, okay, this is going to take a little bit longer. I majored in biology and chemistry, and I graduated with honors, summa cum laude, with a GPA of 4.2. So at that point, one of the happiest days of my life. Thank you. Yeah. One of my happiest days was during my award ceremony. Whenever they would call my name, my mother's ululations will fill up the hall. Everyone will look around surprised, and then my heart will fill with joy. So that GPA greatly helped me when I was applying to medical school. Now, to talk a little bit about medicine. It is a long process to get into medicine, but there is a formula. You do A, B, C, and D, you're guaranteed to get in. So for me, I would say that one of the things you need first is the desire and the passion. It has to come from you. The why. Why do I want to do this? You have to have that desire yourself. Another thing I would say is you need to have intelligence. There are multiple exams along the way, and in the end, you need that knowledge to be able to care for patients. Now, to clarify, it's not the most intelligent who would succeed in medicine, or it's not the genius. It's those who are willing to work hard. Sometimes it means studying 8 hours a day for a few weeks prior to an exam. Then you need commitment. So if I could count, you have 4 years of college, 4 years of medical school, a minimum 4 years of residency. That all adds up. So one needs to have a long-range focus. Along the way, life happens. You will have birthdays, weddings, funerals. You can get married, have children. Now, if you're a doctor, as I am, you're not going to make it to all of those events. Your friend has a birthday party. Oh, I'm on call, I have to work, I can't go. Oh, this is happening. Oh, there's a wedding in South Sudan. Oh man, it's Christmas, I can't take off work at that time. So you do some sacrifices, but in the end, there's a lot of reward. The other thing I would say is that you need a mentor. Having a mentor would help make your dream into reality. For me, I had a mentor. Her name was Dr. Velma Scantlebury. She's the first African-American female transplant surgeon in the United States. I was fortunate that the lady who helped me get a scholarship had a sister who was working with Dr. Scantlebury, and she introduced me to her. I ended up spending about 2-3 summers in their home. They adopted me pretty much. That relationship helped me to see, okay, here is a lady who is female, she's black, she's married, she has children, and here she is navigating those environments in the theater, talking to other surgeons, talking to patients, and in the community, she was doing a lot of advocacy work. So that made me think, well, I can do this too, because there's someone who looks like me, and she's doing a really good job. So I'm going to take a little bit to talk about my company, Taste of South Sudan. I started that in 2016, and I started that because I saw there was a lack of our stories. First, there was a lack of our recipes or our foods. So I wanted to see that out there in written form and on the internet. With Taste of South Sudan, you'll see me writing stories about myself, my parents, my career, life, and then I also write a lot about food. So now I want one day for our children to look into a book called Taste of South Sudan Cookbook and to say, I want to learn how to cook that food. And hopefully that book will be coming out next year. Thank you very much for your support. Hey. I look forward to meeting all of you, and I'm available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Bulgak, and I'm a senior researcher at Arizona State University, Office of Sex Trafficking and Prevention Research. And aside from that, I'm a refugee advocate and also human rights activist in large. 3 years ago, I had a conversation with one of my Uber's passengers. I used to drive Uber while I was in graduate school. And he asked me, you're a former refugee, you've seen conflicts, you've seen war. Why do you want to be a refugee advocate and also a human rights activist? Why are you going to school for it? Why can't you just be an engineer? Why can't you just be a doctor, make money? You're in America. And I responded, at one point, someone advocated on my behalf, and that stranger might have been long gone for a very long time, and I'm now in the position to take over and also to advocate on others. My work at ASU, I research human trafficking, and within my positions, I do activities on labor trafficking and also human trafficking among refugees. That's what I do. Last year, I made connection with REC and through South Sudan Unite, and we came up with a plan to actually, you see brochures right now on your table, which is human trafficking brochures, to actually translate these brochures into some of our languages. And there are barriers that became about, and REC and I decided to wait a little bit longer for us to actually publish them to what they look like on your table. So that's what I do. I do general human trafficking at my job. So thank you. If you guys can read the account.
Hey, what's up, y'all? So I told my story about a lot of times now, so I'm gonna make it quick and short. I'm Akeem Akway. I was born in Gambela, came here when I was 9, 4 brothers. When we first came from Gambela, Ethiopia, moved straight to North Minneapolis, which is like the ghetto. So when we came here, I thought America was, like heaven. You know how they paint it to us, right? It's like closest thing to heaven. But it wasn't that. You know, you touch down here, you got to start back at like ground zero. You know, Africa is like negative. So when you get to when you get to America and you in the ghetto, that's at the zero level. So you still got to work your way up. So then I lived there for 4 years or so. You know, you learn the American culture. You know, we all can relate to this. The African American community, they look at us a little different for being dark skinned. You know, we get clowned a lot for being, African booty scratchers, stuff like that, you know. And so I had to like survive that. So my folks, they didn't really let me play outside a lot. So all I did was watch a lot of BET, rap music videos, NBA, you know, all that, because we all had dreams of making it to the league one day, you know. Only Lou was the chosen one. But nah, so I was watching NBA and rap music videos a lot, and I was always intrigued by it. Like, man, I want to be like one of them guys, you know, because I like nice things and stuff like that, stuff I've seen on TV. So when my brother, he started cutting my hair, you know, and then I just happened to learn the trade from him too. So I started cutting my homeboys at the crib, you know, in the bathroom, and then my mom will get mad because all my friends come over, they're going through her fridge, eating up her food, stuff like that. You know?
Oh, we can relate.
So, you know, keeping the crib dirty, stuff like that. So eventually I started cutting at my high school locker room. And then, you know, my name started getting big. Teachers were starting to get cut by me. I was cutting my varsity team. I was on the team also, but one of the wake-up calls was my brother, he told me, I was like a junior or a senior, he was like, yo, you weigh 130 and you're 5'9", you're not going to the NBA. He was like, yo, stop it, bro. You don't even start on your varsity team. I'm like, damn. It was really a dream killer, but I needed to hear that, you know? So he told me that, and then I was really good at cutting hair. So I took that more serious. So our senior year, our basketball team was doing really good, and then Star Tribune newspaper came and did a story on my basketball team. And then the story was why our team was doing so good was because I was the chemistry. I would cut my teammates after practice, you know, we would chill after, you know, stay out of trouble after school, like just vibe out in the locker room. So after that, you know, my name kept getting bigger, and then I went to barber school, and then after barber school, I worked under one of my friends. His name is Damian Perry. I worked under him for like 4 years, and then saved up my money and eventually opened up Akway Sports Barbershop. And then after that, I started cutting one of my friends now, he plays for the 49ers, Jared McKinnon. He's a running back. He was the first celebrity I ever cut. So I always knew like if somebody was to give me a chance that I would like take off with it. So when he gave me that chance, he went to the locker room the next day. And then all his homeboys, I just started getting random text messages like, yo, I need a cut, stuff like that. And then I started cutting the Vikings. And then I wasn't really a football guy, so I was waiting for that chance to cut one of the Timberwolves. So I didn't really care about the Vikings. So I started, you know, what I did, I kept posting my work on Instagram and Facebook. Eventually, Tyus Jones, he's a hometown kid. He gave me a chance when he got drafted here. I cut him, and then the rest was history. So y'all can ask me anything and how I started up the business and all that. So I'll pass it on to my guy.
You're a speaker. He told me that he's not really good at this, and I think he's actually very good. My name is James Thuch, and I'm an entrepreneur and a speaker, public speaker. And I reside in Toronto, Canada. That's what I call home at the moment, or a home that I'm just like transiting through. I wouldn't go so much into my professional life at this stage of having the mic. I'll just start off with my personal, and then when the next round of the questions come, perhaps I will go into the professional work. I was born in South Sudan and raised there during the war, and I'm sure some of you in the room who were also born and raised in South Sudan will relate to some of the things that I'm going to say. The region I was born in is Barber, in a place called Thuch, near Wow. And I was born in a community of people that are very, like, traditional, like holding on to our values and all of that. And that meant that, the myth that you hear about Sudanese communities that were not allowing their good kids to go to school, only like if you are a criminal or you're one of those kids that doesn't like to work on the farm or you don't know how to take care of cows, then you'll be the kid that will be sent to school. Because essentially, that's a way of disciplining you. We're giving you a wage, and perhaps you will be taken to the militia group, and maybe you get killed or come back alive, having learned a lesson. So unfortunately, I didn't get the menu of this, and so I wasn't a bad kid. And that meant that going to school was actually not part of my journey. I was not supposed to go to school at all. From a family of 5, but other kids also from my other mothers, so several of us. I was inspired by my sisters who had gone to school at the time, and they would come back with their books, and they were getting pulled out of school at this point in time, but they were in school long enough to inspire me to actually see the value of education. One of the things that I really admired was how organized some of these kids that used to go to school were. They would wear these uniforms, and I'm here like taking care of cows, and these guys are like having a good time, So I was inspired by that, and I wanted to be as cool as them too. But then there were all these barriers around, right? Like, I have to support my family, I have to be part of the whole thing. And I decided that the best thing that I should actually do within this particular situation was to find my own money that I can use to pay my own tuition and just come back with uniforms and my exercise books and report to the community that I'm actually in school now. So I decided to start a business. And the business I started, I walked about 9 hours from my small town to a neighboring town, which is Town Town. That was just captured from the Sudanese government at the time. And it was a ghost town, has a lot of mangoes. So I went there, spent a night on the way, arrived the following day, got as many mangoes as possible. How many of you here like mangoes?
Yay.
Everyone.
Everybody.
So I just, the following day I got as much as I could with 2 other kids, and we carried them on our heads. We came back and flipped them. We had a table like this, like clean it out and clean the mangoes, and within 30 minutes they were sold. And from there I decided to invest that money into buying like salt and sugar in large commodities and break it down into small portions. And from there I grew into like buying chicken and goods, and then the rest is history. My business grew. And I was able to pay for my tuition. I was able to pay for uniforms. And I was able to pay for my freedom from my family. When my mother asked me, why would you go to school? Why would you go to school and leave the farm? I'm like, how about the salt that I brought home the other night? Right? And she would let it pass. Right? So that's part of my journey at the time. But then something unfortunate happened. I took on an opportunity that I thought would be an opportunity to go further and focus on school. Unfortunately, that turned out to be a military training ground. And it was the most horrible experience along my journey, like being trained at that age, and like so many other kids that were brought together with us in Rubek. If some of you are familiar with the town, there was so many kids died, some people, it was horrible. So I escaped that, went back and restarted my business that I had stopped, but that still followed me. So I decided to leave the country in 2005 and found myself at the refugee camp in northern Kenya, in Kakuma. If some of you have been there. Throughout my life, if there's anything that I've known, it's just knowing that I've got no one but me and working hard at whatever stage that I'm at. And so I came to the camp. It was horrible. It's not a good living condition at all. If I had money, I would have gone back to Sudan. I said I would rather die of a bullet than die from like this, be in this kind of situation. But I was stuck. I didn't have any money to go back. So I just decided to make the best out of the situation. And the best out of the situation was the school. So I really worked my butts off, and I mean, even literally. And I got a scholarship after that brought me to University of Toronto in Canada. And that's where I went to university. I finished my high school in Kenya, came to university there, and then started a company called a social enterprise, non-profit organization called Rainmaker Enterprise that I have circulated the information around on the table. Maybe some of you will read through, but I will talk more about it later on when the next round of questions come. But that's a little bit about it. Thank you.
Hi everyone. My name is Akeem, and I am a real estate agent. I didn't always start out as a realtor, to be honest. I didn't know what I wanted to be. My parents brought us here from South Sudan to the United States. The goal was to go to school and get an education, but there wasn't really direction on what type of education to get. Just get some type of degree, preferably a doctor or a lawyer or a nurse. Anything else is an abomination. But so my dad, he told me, yeah, go to school, and I was like, all right, well, I'm going to be a doctor, so I'm going to go to medical school. Didn't take into consideration what's required to become a medical doctor. I went to school, got my undergraduate in biology and chemistry, but then the studies was very difficult for me, actually. Science is interesting, but I'm not interested in it as much as I thought I was. So I finished my undergraduate, and then I was like, you know what, there's no way I can become a medical doctor. I'm not going to school. My friends who were together, they're like, come on, apply to medical school. I'm like, I don't think I can spend my whole life in studying, you know. So I didn't know what to do. So after I graduated, I started volunteering for nonprofit organization, and I fell into this housing market where some of the people that introduced me to it, they were saying, hey, in Minnesota, there's a huge gap between home ownership. There's like 70% white homeowners, and you have 30% home ownership among people of color. And there's this huge gap where there's a huge population that are not getting into advantage of home ownership and benefiting from the benefits of home ownership, like increasing your financial wealth and stuff like that. So I got really interested, and I started becoming a home buying counselor, which means I was going to counsel the emerging markets that are coming into Minnesota about the process of homeowning and how to get your first home. So from there, I got interested in what realtors do and the potential to make up your own hours, the potential to make unlimited cap of income that's not based, you can make as much as you want, depending on how hard you work. So I decided to get my real estate license, and I've been doing real estate now, and because I'm targeting a specific market, I've been very successful in what I'm doing. So that's a little bit about me. If you need to know more about real estate, let me know.
Hi, can you guys hear me? Yeah. Okay. My name is Adut Bulgak. I'm a professional basketball player. In 2016, I was drafted to the New York Liberty, making me the first Sudanese to play in the WNBA. This summer, I'm not playing in the WNBA, but I play internationally still, and I just finished a season in Israel, and I'll be going back next year. I got into playing basketball because I was always around my brothers and my cousins. Like even when I was little, coming from Kenya, I was always hanging out with the boys because I was the first girl in the family and there was 4 boys in between me. And so I was just always with them. And one day, like my cousins were like, I was watching them at the park and they were like, here, shoot a ball. And I was like, no. And so they just kept pressuring me. And then one day, like I finally just started liking it because I was terrible at it. That doesn't make sense, but I kept practicing and I got better and I just had a lot of motivation from my brothers and my cousins. My mom, you guys know, she did not approve of it at all. And so it actually became a gateway. I kept playing because I went through a lot of traumas as a kid and I used basketball to really leverage my my mental health, I would say, because I lost 2 brothers, but playing basketball, I was able to release all of the hurt and like anything I had, I was able to get rid of it on the basketball court. I was just playing it because I was getting good at it. I didn't really enjoy it, and like I said, it was a release. And then finally, like I got a lot of scholarship offers. That's when my mom started to accept it because I was able to get an education from basketball, like, which is really important for me because in high school I didn't take my education very seriously. But when you get to college, like you have to maintain a specific grade point average to play, and so that really motivated me to focus on my academics. And I ended up graduating with a sociology and criminology degree, which I hold dearly now because basketball has given me that opportunity to get a free education, which some regular person on the street probably wouldn't be able to afford. And I'm getting to see the world with basketball. I just came back from Africa like literally a week and a half ago. And then on top of it, outside of basketball, I got to branch into opening my own company, which focuses on mental and behavioral health care and substance abuse, which is located in Cincinnati. And so I'm using basketball still to open those doors for me and just get to where I want to be. I've gotten to do so many things just because it doesn't have to be basketball. Like you said, all these people, they saw something that they were good at and they persevered with it and they're able to create the life that they want. She thought she wanted to be a doctor, but now she's doing something that she loves and she's amazing at it. And that's what I tell the youth. You don't have to do what you're supposed to do, but if you're good at something and you work hard at it every single day and you give your all to it, you can make the best life for yourself just from what you love. And so that's what I did. I got to create the life that I love, doing something that I now love to do. And so that's what I'm doing. You guys can ask about my company, you can ask about anything about basketball, but that's the brief introduction of me.